This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about 80s airline slogans, the return of the fire escape, and bold bungee bravery. All that and more as we watch Season 6, Episode 6 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. I'm so glad you're here, listener cousin. My name is Imran. Joining me every week, my sister cousin. Well, sister, not cousin.
Yeah, no.
Sophia.
I'm definitely your sister.
Fictional cousin, biological sister. That makes no sense.
What?
Like on a TV show.
Yeah, true. Okay. I have a question for you, Imran. What is the most reckless thing you've ever done, or high intensity adrenaline rush thing?
Like a stunt thing, like a adrenaline chasing thing.
Have you ever jumped out of a plane?
I may have driven 85 miles on the highway.
Okay, that's pretty thrilling.
Actually, the closest thing is driving my wife's car. She has a Kia Rio Rento. This car pretty much drives itself.
Oh, autopilot?
It has lane assist. You set it on cruise control, and then when it sees a car, it slows down. Okay, this is it. This is the most exciting thing. We were taking a gentle curve on the expressway on cruise control at like 75 miles an hour. I took my hands off the wheel, and the car took the curve by itself.
What?
It turned and then it straightened out. It has lane assist. I was like, I had my hands hovering just above the steering wheel.
In case.
But the point is, listener, at my age, I'm not really doing a lot of thrill seeking things. Even when I was younger, I'll be like, you want me to do what? No. I'm going to be over here drinking coffee. What about you? Have you ever done anything? We'll talk about it later.
I've done some things, but I haven't jumped out of a plane. I've gone in a hot air balloon, but that feels safe.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you all because we're gonna see a lot of stunts this episode.
Ooh.
We'll ask you if we did any of these. We are up to Season 6, Episode 6 of Perfect Strangers. This one titled "Call Me Indestructible." Oh,
Call Me Indestructible. That reminds me of a song most notably recorded by Frank Sinatra in the 1960s. Called Call Me Irresponsible.
I did not know you were such a big Frank Sinatra fan.
Oh, a huge Frank fan.
Wow, you need to go back to the old stuff. Yeah, you're a Francophile. You know who I love? Michael Bublé, because he also had an album of standards with the name Call Me Irresponsible in 2007. So, listener, she's a Sinatra girl. I'm a Bublé guy. I love Frank Sinatra.
I like Bublé. Okay.
We dabble in both.
But this episode is almost that. It's called Call Me Indestructible. And if you were to open the TV guide, you would have read about this episode. Larry's fear of flying resurfaces when he interviews a pilot who invites Larry to witness his aerial maneuvers firsthand.
That's right, because we know he's afraid of flying. It was in a previous episode, right? Was it he didn't want to fly to Vegas or didn't want to fly somewhere?
I don't remember.
I don't know, but we have our tight cast
Apparently,
in this one.
He's afraid of flying.
It's a valid fear. Bronson Pinchot as Balky, Mark Linn-Baker as Larry Appleton. And that's really it. There's one more guest star we'll get to. But this is another one of those episodes where it's just the duo performing magic.
Which means what? It's going to be good.
Probably. Which means a high probability this is going to be a decent episode.
Let's find out. This episode aired on November 2nd, 1990. We're almost through the year.
Also, Perfect Strangers streaming on Amazon Freevee currently for now at this moment, 2023. Go watch it. Binge along. Who knows how long it's there. You know how these things are. When we started the show, remember, it was on Hulu.
It was on Hulu.
And then it went away for a while, and we were like, oh, no.
What do we do?
And then it was on IMDb TV. And then IMDb TV changed to Amazon Freevee.
Yes, this is our third streamer.
It's not easy to follow old 80s sitcom from their streaming platforms. There's a bit of
give the people their shows.
A bit of detective work is required.
Let's get into it. Act 1 opens in Balky and Larry's apartment. Balky's cooking.
Yes.
Cooking in the kitchen. And we have a nice little opening song and dance number.
Remember he was taking chef lessons?
Oh,
He
yeah.
was going to cooking school?
Yeah, he made those egg rolls.
We got to mention what he's wearing, though, also. He's got this hilarious Michael Jordan Bulls 23 apron shirt.
Jersey apron.
Apron. It looks like the jersey, but I think it's an apron, which is actually really clever.
It looks like not only the jersey, but like the shorts, too, because it goes down.
It's got on the bottom. It's
uniform.
really funny. Yes, but song alert, song and dance. What is he singing? Do you remember?
He is singing. I did not recognize this. I don't know this song, but it's a song called Who's Got the Pain from the Broadway musical Damn Yankees from 1955.
Who's got the pain when they do the mambo?
And so he's singing and dancing and sprinkling powdered sugar or something over some food. He's singing and dancing and cooking. Yeah.
And then Cousin Larry enters, walks over to the counter, and we have to do this as a reenactment because this episode features some amazing alliteration.
First of all, they squeezed a lot into Act 1. The first cool thing is this little alliterative run.
That it's right in the beginning as Balky is baking. Who do you want to be, sister?
I'll be Balky.
Okay, so here we go. Perfect Strangers reenactment. I'm Larry. I've walked in, crossed to the counter, and scene.
Hi, cousin. I just baked a big batch of Bang Bong Bikiniki Baklava.
Bang Bong Bikiniki Baklava?
Bingo. Want a big bite, booby? And he pulls up a piece on a toothpick, offers it to him.
Better not, buddy.
And then Balky just goes, bummer.
Bitter Balky?
You bet your bibby bop, because I'm bitter, baby. I broke my butt baking these itty-bitty binky-ninkies, and believe me, I banked on a bit of basic brotherly bolstering.
Balky, buddy, baby. I've had a lot in my mind. And then it stops there, but that was a long stretch.
I was so impressed. As it was going on, I was like, how long are they going to keep this up?
Banked on a bit of basic
brotherly bolstering. They should do
bolstering.
a whole episode just in B.
I feel like the letter B has the most words you could use out of that.
Because they do it. They keep coming back to
they always
B's.
use the B, and it's funny because of the hard B sound.
Yeah.
Bitter Balky, you bet your baby bop, because I love it. Bummer. But that's the end of the B alliteration as Larry gives us the plot. Wainwright has given him a very tough assignment, and they walk over to the kitchen table. He has to do a, quote, whatever happened to piece on Ace Atkins. And Bucky goes, oh, I'd love to know where he is. And then he thinks, and then he goes, I'd love to know who he is.
Who is Ace Atkins?
Who is Ace Atkins?
So Larry explains that Alvin Ace Atkins was a highly decorated Korean War pilot.
Oh.
And after the war, he became a test pilot, and he currently owns and operates an air charter company.
Got it.
And a Mr. Softy ice cream franchise.
Oh, he's into planes and ice cream. I get it.
He's a businessman
This
now.
guy, and Dougie is impressed. He goes, wow, you're a good cousin. Can you find out whatever happened to Mr. T? And then he starts to do the Mr. T. I pity the fool. I pity the fool. Do you get this reference at all?
I know Mr. T, and I know his phrase was "I pity the fool." But what is the thing about finding out whatever happened?
So I think what this is about how in the mid '80s he was on A-Team and he was in the Rocky movies and he was huge. And by 1990, I believe he just drops off the face of the planet, just disappears. Nobody knows where he went. He actually used to live in a northwest neighborhood here in Chicago and got in trouble for cutting trees down and all this crazy, all still wearing the chains. But I think it's a dig on Mr. T's waning popularity at this point in pop culture.
Yep.
I pity the fool.
But Larry is not excited about this. Well, he is excited about the assignment, but there's part of it he's not so thrilled about because the publisher, Mr. Wainwright, wants Larry to go up in the plane with Ace the next day and do a first-hand account of what it's like to fly with him.
That's fun. And
experiential reporting.
Yes, you go there, and this gets Belky very excited. He wants to go with him. He goes, cousin, please, can I go? Please take me to the friendly skies. Balky is ready when you are. I love to fly, and it shows.
That is 2 airline slogans.
Oh, that's right.
In one. The first is fly the friendly skies.
That's United.
Uh-huh. Is it still or back then only?
I think back there, I think it still is.
And then the next is We Love to Fly and It Shows.
That's the Delta campaign from the 80s. Delta, how does it go?
On Delta, we love to fly and it shows.
So this is
that
a
one.
2-for-1. Balky says, please take me to the friendly skies. Balky is
That's
ready when
that
you are.
is United
Ready
Airlines.
when you are? Maybe a third one?
Oh, it might be.
Did they do 3?
Oh, my God.
Delta, we're ready when you are.
Okay.
It was also Delta? Ready
Yes.
when you are was also Delta.
Delta was when ready. We're ready when you are, and we love to fly and it shows. And the Fly the Friendly Skies was United.
Okay, so that's
Airlines.
weird that it's
They did.
2 Deltas and 1
2
United.
Deltas and one
But
United.
this is a run of 3
Yeah.
airline pitch slogans.
I didn't even catch that it was 3. I
All
just
at
thought
once.
it was 1. That's
Please take
Good
me to the
catch.
friendly skies.
Yeah.
Balky's ready when you are. I love to fly and it shows. United Delta Delta.
that's some
funny.
great slogan
Yeah.
etymology we just did there on the fly. Anyways, Larry's like, that's fine, Balky. You can go if you want because I'm not going. You can tell me what
You
it's
can-
like.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be there. And Balky's like, Carson, how can you write an article about flying with Ace unless you fly with Ace?
And here's Larry's hilarious response. He's like, listen, I'm a writer. I don't have to experience something to write about it. I wrote a very comprehensive article about the sexual revolution.
And it's a great joke right there, just kind
Zing.
of thrown in.
Yes.
But I love how he just goes, Bucky, I'm a writer. I don't need to do the thing to write
He
it.
doesn't need to know
I
about
wrote a
any
very
sexual
comprehensive
revolution to
article
write
on
about
the
it.
sexual revolution. That's pretty
There's
good.
like a bit of a delayed laugh from the audience on that because it takes you a minute to put it together.
So Balky thinks he owes his readers more. He wants Cousin Larry to go up there, and Larry tells him he doesn't like small planes because they tend to fall out of the sky. But Balky reminds him it is his duty as a journalist, and then tries to pour on the guilt. He goes, Ted Koppel would go. Sam Donaldson would go. Clark Kent would go. Of course, he wouldn't need the plane, but get it? Because Clark Kent, Superman.
And Larry's like, nope, you can't change my mind. You can't say anything or do anything that'll make me change my mind. And Balky says, I'll tell Jennifer you sleep with a nightlight.
And at that point, Larry
And Larry's
turns
like,
and his face drops. What?
Okay,
So
may I remind you, cousins,
doesn't know.
Jennifer and Larry
They're
are engaged to be married. They're fiancés. And they're saying that she doesn't know that he sleeps with a nightlight.
it's possible that he removes it. Like, if she stays the night or something.
I don't think they do that.
No, I don't think they do that. It's only after marriage. That's
Yes.
what the thing is. But so that's enough to get Larry in the plane. How do you know?
We're still
they
in Act 1.
This is still Act 1. So many things happen in this Act 1. We cut to a shot of a single engine Cessna plane, and they're in the plane with this dude Ace. It's a very small plane. Balky is in front with the pilot Ace, and Larry is in the back. And this plane already is doing loop-de-loops.
Yeah.
And you can hear
And Larry's
Larry
like
screaming.
panicking.
It's diving. It's going upside down. But they have this elaborate plane set, in front of a live audience with them in
Balky's
there.
having a great time with Ace in the
Yeah.
front. And then when they cut to the inside, it's like as if they've just finished like a loop or something.
A crazy move. Yeah.
And Ace is like, this move is why they invented the air sick bag, like the vomit bag.
He's the reason they invented the air sickness bag.
And Larry's like, do we have to be so high up? He's like, just not having a nice time. And Ace is like, give me an airplane and an unlimited ceiling and I'm a happy man.
He
And
laughs
then
boisterously.
Balky kind of copies him. He says, give me a flight of stairs and a slinky and I'm a happy man. Balky's like such a simple.
I mean, and Ace goes, "You're not alone there, buddy." I agree. That's I can watch that for days. Give
and
me
they
a-
start cracking
Yeah,
up and the
they're like,
plane, they lose control of the plane a little bit.
Suddenly, you hear the radio, and it's the radio control tower, and it's like, "Tower calling Nancy 7835 Romeo, Nancy 7835 Romeo, come in, please." And Ace picks up the microphone and pushes the button. And he goes, "Oh, shut up!" and hangs up and starts laughing at
He
him.
seems like he's like a drunk.
He seems crazy.
Yeah.
And Becky goes, "Who is that? The automatic pilot?" It was a
And he's
great line.
like, nope, it's them jerks in the tower. And Larry's like, shouldn't you answer that? Like maybe they're calling to tell you something important.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, they're just angry because I didn't file a flight plan. So this guy's like unhinged, doing his own thing, not following any rules. If we learned anything in the past week of current events, You got to follow the regulations.
You want to let someone know where you're going. He goes, hey, I don't know where I'm going. Why should they?
Oh, no.
You know what? If this had happened any other time, they would have been shot down by now. They're just flying out there willy-nilly without telling anybody. They're in the airspace.
And Larry is so panicked now. He grabs Balky's hair and pulls his head back to bring his face down. He's like, we're flying with a lunatic.
And then Ace is like, say, would you like to fly to Balky? And this is a dumb joke, but it's funny.
So stupid.
Balky goes, I would love to fly, but I'm not sure I have the upper body strength as he flaps his arms.
And Ace is like, nope, the plane. And Balky's like, I would love to fly the plane.
Oh my God, he's going to let Balky fly.
And Larry's like, are you sure? He's like, it's probably against FAA regulations for other people to fly a plane. And Ace is just like, there's too many rules and regulations. He's like, if a man wants to fly, we should let him fly. So what if he fails a couple of them psychological tests? Who cares? Look at me. Do I look unstable?
And then he's like,
yeah. And Larry's like, okay, fine. I have enough for my article. Let's just go back down. And Ace is like, nope, we're going to have some fun first.
And then he pushes down on the joystick, putting them into a dive. The joystick, whatever. The
Xbox
stick.
controller.
The Xbox controller. Oh boy, yikes, too soon. He's pushing down on the stick. It's a stick.
Yeah.
He's probably with a stick. And they're going to a dive. He's like, oh, don't you love it when all the blood is rushing to your head and you're just this close to blacking out?
Like
this
he's
man is
diving
crazy.
on purpose.
Yes, he's getting a high off of this adrenaline rush. And Bucky has one. He goes, hey, you ever tried hanging upside down, spinning around, drinking a cold soda real fast while blindfolded? And Ace is just like, oh,
That's
I love
his
that.
most thrilling rush.
Yeah. And Ace has another one. He goes, you ever held your breath and put it in a tub of Jello? They're just trading
and Larry's
ridiculous
like, stop
stories.
it, pull the plane up. Ace goes, don't get your shorts in a bunch.
And he tries to pull the plane up, and then he's like, whoa, oh. He's like, looks like we got a situation here. I can't seem to pull her out of the dive. He turns back and looks at Larry. He goes, we're going to have to bail out. And,
What?
Well, Larry just cries, and his eyes roll back, and he passes out.
He faints from shock. And Larry's like, Balky like tries to get him to wake up. He's like slapping his face. And he's like, come on, it's going to be fun. We get to jump out of the airplane.
Oh boy.
And Ace tells him there's a couple of chutes in the box behind the seat. And he goes, just put them on, jump out of the plane, count to 3 and pull this here doohickey. And he opens the door and climbs. He opens the plane door. By the way, this plane is still free falling.
Yes, it's in a dive.
It falls for a long time.
Yes, they were really high up. That's all.
And so he goes outside of the plane.
He's on
like
the wing.
walking on the wing. And then he goes, I'll see you boys on the ground. And then he's like, at which time I'll give you both a valuable coupon worth 5 cents toward purchase of any Mr. Softy item.
Cross promotion.
5 cents.
Smart marketing
coupon.
there.
And he jumps, and Larry's like, "No, wait!" And he right before he jumps, he goes, "Oh, not good on Saturdays for the coupon."
And then he closes the door behind him and turns and jumps off the plane. And you cut to this shot from underneath. You see a guy jumping off a plane
with a parachute opening.
You see his parachute drop, and you're like, "What?" Okay, Ace just jumped out of the plane.
What is happening?
Ace jumped out of the plane.
By the way, we're still in Act 1.
Still in Act 1. And Larry can't remember the instructions. He's like, pull the doohickey, jump, count to 3. Belky, I can't remember what order the directions are.
No, he says, I don't remember what he said. And Belky said, he said the coupon's not good on Saturday.
That's the part that got Belky.
And he's like, no, I mean about the parachutes. And in the meantime, Belky has gone to check the box behind the seats. And he just goes, there are no parachutes.
Oh, boy.
And Larry's like, what? And he holds up this piece of paper. The only thing in that box was a note that said, borrowed a couple of chutes. Hope you don't mind, Dave.
Oh, Dave. Dave has now put them in a situation.
Oh, my gosh.
So Larry grabs the note as Belky climbs into the front seat. And Larry's still reading the note. And he goes, hope you don't mind. And Belky thinks he's talking to him. He goes, no, I don't mind. Actually, I prefer the front seat. As Larry climbs into the passenger seat, Belky's like, cousin, we're going to just have to land the plane ourselves. And Larry's like, you cannot fly this plane. Bucky's like, how hard it could be. Mr. A said he could fly it with both eyes tied behind his back.
Oh, my gosh.
Both
By the way,
arms.
this plane is still diving.
Plane is still diving, and now they have no chutes, and now Belky is flying.
And Belky pulls up on the controller, whatever it is, and the plane stops diving. And he's like, see, I made us stop falling out of the sky.
Well, that's good.
And then he goes, now we are so happy. We do the dance of joy.
He
And
starts
tries
to
to like
dance
in this tiny airplane cockpit, tries to like dance around.
And Larry's like, no, Balky, we still have to land the plane.
And then Balky says, cousin, don't take your shorts out to brunch. Because remember, a moment
guy just
ago,
said, don't get your shorts in a bunch.
And
Balky turns into shorts out to brunch.
Don't take your shorts out to brunch. I love it. Some puns and
also,
wordplay.
we find out Balky is very observative. He watches everything. He says, cousin. Observative? Observational. Observant. Observative. It's not a word?
Yes.
He is very observant. Well, he pays attention. That's a better way to say it.
Badia.
He said, while we were taking off and you were breathing into that paper bag, I watched everything Mr. Ace did. Now, if I can just do it backwards, maybe I can land the plane.
And Larry goes, oh, my Lord, we're going to die.
Of course, because that's how reverse engineering a plane would work. You just do everything the guy did backwards.
He's like, now let me think. The first thing he did, he called the tower. So he picks up the little walkie-talkie thing and he clicks the button and he does a spot-on Ace impression. And he goes, suck air, bozos, I'm bringing her in. Instead of saying anything useful or asking anything, he does what Ace
starts laughing like Ace does.
Yeah.
All crazily. Oh my God, Balky is flying the plane. He needs to land it. There's no parachutes. What is going to happen? Cut to later at the apartment. That's where the scene ends, and it transitions to later at the apartment. Boy, I hope the boys made it.
Apparently they made it.
Let's find out because the door opens.
Somehow they landed.
Larry walk in.
Balky and Larry walk in exasperated.
Okay, so they landed the plane. Okay, carry on.
Larry is so happy to be home. He's like, I never thought I'd see this apartment again. I love this apartment. He's like kissing the floor on his hands and knees.
He gets down and kisses
and he looks at the couch. By the way, it's a different couch.
Yes, this is now a purple couch. It doesn't have
it was
patterns.
there last episode too.
Yeah, this is the new couch.
After the horse sat on the giant couch. He goes, look at this couch. I love this couch. He starts kissing the couch. And then he grabs Balky's hand. And he's like, look at this hand. I love this hand. And he kisses Balky's hand. And then he looks at Balky and he turns to his face. He's like, look at this face. I love that face. And he goes to kiss Balky. Balky places his hand over Larry's mouth to block the kiss. And Balky's like, you've kissed everything from here to the airport. And he's like, I don't think that policeman was very happy when you planted one on his horse. He kissed a police horse.
Oh, he's very excited. Look, he's happy to be alive.
Yeah.
Which is what he says. And he's like, do you know what just happened? 1 minute, we're headed for the ground. And the next, you made a 3-point landing. Somebody was looking out for us today.
Oh, wow. Suddenly he's
he's all spiritual now.
Spiritual, yeah. But when he said that, something occurs to Balky. It all comes to him. He says, of course, sometimes I can't see the forest through my knees.
Forest through my knees.
It's supposed to be forest through the trees.
For the trees or forest from the trees.
Yeah.
But not knees.
The forest through the trees, yeah. Not knees. Something has just occurred to him. He gets down on his knee and he takes a knee and holds his arms up toward the ceiling.
In praise.
And he goes and he looks up and his arms are up and he's looking up and he says, Teflonos was with us today.
Larry goes, Teflonos?
Of course, Teflonos is the Muposian god of protection. Teflon.
And Larry's, of course, all skeptic and has to have a dig and goes, any relation to Levelos, the god of window treatments?
Okay, I didn't get this, but
I didn't get this either, but we know
intuited
Teflon,
that it's another brand that was popular, right?
That's So this is fun. This is fun wordplay on brand. So Teflonos, from a spoof on Teflon, which is nonstick material,
right? Protective material. Yes,
developed by DuPont.
Which is apparently not healthy for us to cook with.
Yes, it wasn't for a long time.
It's out of fashion now.
But hey, the eggs didn't stick, man. You know? And so I didn't get the second part of the joke either. It went over my head. I had to look this up. There is a company called Levelor. They make blinds, draperies, window treatments.
They must have been popular in the late 80s.
Both companies still exist. You can go to levelor.com right now. You can go to teflon.com.
So we have Teflonos and Levelos.
But here is the lesson in terms of your company's name and it being in the zeitgeist of popular culture. some companies' brands become the generic term of the thing, right?
Yeah, like Kleenex,
Xerox. Right? Teflon, arguably, if you say Teflon, you know exactly what somebody's talking about.
Yeah.
When mobsters will go to trial, the Dons would be called the Teflon Dons because none of the charges would stick. Now, Levelor, I don't know what happened to your marketing buddy. Nobody remembers you.
Right.
Nobody knows who you are.
Never.
I could not remember, but I knew Teflon.
But it was written into the script. Levelos, the god of window treatment.
It was written
a window company.
But I was like, oh man, Teflon did pretty good throughout the years.
Good. Frisbee is another popular one.
Yeah. So,
they're not. The Frisbee is not the thing. It's a flying disc.
Right. But when that happens, that's the best thing that can happen for
Frisbee,
your brand.
Kleenex.
Yeah. There's a couple of them. Send us some more.
Big ones.
Not Levelor, though. Nobody talks about it. Does anybody use them? I don't know. They got a nice website. Anyways, Teflonos is protecting them, the omnipotent god of protection.
And
Larry doesn't buy it.
Larry's making jokes about it. And Balky's like, scoff, if you will, cousin. But once Teflonos puts his protective nonstick shield around you.
There's the joke.
That's what Teflon is. For the next phase of the moon, you're indestructible.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, and he's so excited. He says, cousin, I've always wondered what it would be like to put my head in a lion's mouth.
And Larry's just dismissive and because Balky, there's no such thing as Teflonos. And if you put your head in a lion's mouth, he'll bite it off. And he goes, nephew, excuse me, I'm going to go upstairs, tell my fiance how close I came to death today. And while she is comforting me, why don't you try and get in touch with Realitos?
And
he has the smarmy, snooty smile on his
smug
face
jerk.
as he condescendingly smiles at Barry.
He's
with
such
Realitos.
A jerk about Myposian
so
culture
mean.
Until it starts to serve him.
I mean, something just did save his life. He's the one who said somebody's looking up for us today.
And so and then he's like on his way out the door. He just gives him another smug smirk.
Yeah. But it's not going to hurt Balky because he's ecstatic.
He leaves. So Larry's out of the scene. And then Balky grabs this heavy, thick glass vase and tosses the flowers out. And he holds them up in front of him. And he says, Teflonos, I know you're with me. And he goes, so here goes. And he just smashes the vase on his head, over his head. He just smashes his head with the vase and nothing happens. And he just laughs and he's like, oh, this is going to be fun.
So Balky thinks he is protected. Obviously breakaway glass, but looked really great. The smashing of the head.
Yeah, it looked really like a thick, heavy glass vase.
And then we cut to the next morning, and Larry is making coffee or tea. There's a teapot on the stove, and they make a point to show us that it's very hot. He's pouring the water, and he's like, ow, hot. This water is extremely hot, right? And he pours it in a mug. He puts it on the counter.
He's saying ow, ow from holding the mug that he's
I don't know what's
pouring.
burning him. Maybe splashes of water on there.
Yeah, but anyway, the acting made the point, right?
But
what
water.
Gets me is he didn't even see what happens next.
No, because then he turns back.
The audience saw it, but he doesn't.
Happens? He turns back to put the pot back, and Balky comes out of his room.
And Balky comes out of the room to the counter, picks up that same cup of tea that he was saying ow, ow about. He picks it up and he chugs it straight down and doesn't even flinch.
Doesn't even harm him.
And I thought they were going to have the Larry character see that and react to it. But they had the Larry character just not see it at all. But the audience sees it.
Yeah, we're he can drink whatever.
Just drink boiling water.
He's got a slinger on him. He marches over to the window and he starts clearing the desk, the shelves in front of the window.
Yes.
And the window's open, and guess what's back, everyone? What do you notice? Oh, my God.
The fire escape.
There is now a fire escape.
Where has it been? And those weird buildings in the churches are not there.
They already had episodes where they were throwing things down from upstairs and and he's leaning out. No fire escape.
No fire escape, and now it's back. Maybe they were repairing.
I was just going to say that. Maybe the building had it removed so they could fix it and put it back on.
Yeah,
but it looks
they were
like the old
upgrading their fire. Yeah, it looks exactly like
the fire escape is back, and Balky climbs out there. Fire escape.
Fire's gate. The
fire's gate is back. And yes, but Larry's like, you're not still thinking about putting your head in a lion's mouth, are you? He doesn't know what Balky's up to.
Balky says, of course not. Don't be ridiculous. The circus don't come to town for 2 months, and I'm only indestructible for 1.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yes. So then he opens the window, climbs out on the returning fire escape. I hope they screwed it in properly.
Yeah. And he pulls out this cord and he starts tying the end of it to the railing.
Yes. It's a white
like
cord.
this big rope
Yes.
thing. And Larry, of course, reasonably asks, Balky, what are you doing? He puts his ankle, lifts his foot up onto the railing, right? So a deep lunge on the railing. And you see him tie the other end of that cord around his ankle. And he goes, bungee cords. I'm going to dive off the fire escape and see how close I can get to the ground without actually hitting it.
Oh, my Lord.
Wait a minute. So, we're in November 1990.
Yeah.
I venture to say that the idea of the thing about bungee jumping and bungee cords was relatively new or just taking off in public knowledge or popularity, because they made it a point to explain what in this second line, right?
Yeah.
They broke it down what bungee cords were. So I'm guessing that in November 1990, people weren't all that familiar with bungee cords and bungee jumping because they had to explain what it was.
I mean, I think it was early in its popularity. I did look it up. That version of bungee cord jumping started in 79.
Yeah, of course.
I'm
sure it was
throughout
around
the 80s. But then in the 90s, I think it got popular.
I'm sure it was around only
now,
some extreme thrill seekers would do it, but it wasn't now. It's
they still have it
there
today.
was a period, we're past it now, but there was a period where it was very popular and people started doing it all the time.
Yeah, it was a
Have you ever been bungee jumping?
Have not.
Oh, okay, me either.
You ever jumped out of a plane? I forgot to ask that when we got to that point.
But I want to.
My wife has over South Africa.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to. Okay.
But that skydiving, I do. Bungee cords, I don't think so.
No, because the cord can snap.
I'm not messing with that. That's a lot of things.
So scary.
And Balky is not really tying it on very.
Oh my God! Yeah,
securely.
and he's tying it on himself.
Yes, tying it on himself.
A handmade knot on his. So he ties his cord. He's intending to jump off this fire escape, but also when we see the external shots of the building, it is implied that they're only on the second or third floor.
So you need the short bungee cord.
You need a short bungee cord. It's not that big of a jump.
He climbs over the railing and now he's hanging on the other side of the bungee cord as Larry tries to stop him because Balky, I've seen bungee cord jumping on television. It's very dangerous. People have been killed trying it. Yes, the thing would snap. And Balky's like, well, they were foolish to try it without Teflonos's protection.
Oh, boy.
And then he says that, and he puts his arms out, and he leans forward as he's about to drop off the fire escape, and Larry grabs him from behind, grabs the bag, pulls him back. Oh, my God. Balky's going to do this.
And Larry's like, this is insane. And Balky says, you can't stop me. And he tries to lean forward again, and Larry catches him again from the back of his shirt, pulls him back in, and he's like, no. And Larry, for all his fear and respect for his safety, climbs out to the outside of the railing without being tied to the cord.
And gets in front of him.
To try to block him from falling forward.
He's like, okay, Balky, listen to me. You can't do this.
And Balky says, well, that's where you're wrong. And he lets go of the railing a third time and leans forward again. And Larry now is on the other side.
Yeah,
and
that was a bad move.
He has nothing to do but grab onto Balky.
Yes,
he's bear hugging him from the front, grabs him around the chest, and they both fall over. And we just see the cord unwind and then stop taut.
Actually, the first time it just disappears off screen.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? And fade to black to commercial.
Fade to black. That is the end of Act 1. We have been in Act 1 this whole time.
We were in a plane. We were bungee cord jumping.
B alliterative run.
What they put a lot into this Act 1. I'll give them
there was
credit
a lot.
for that. Listener, you could join this conversation. Before we get to Act 2, I'll tell you how. We have a Facebook group. There's a link in the episode description. And I post threads of episodes before we record them. You can watch along, leave your comments and observations and memories, and meet other people who enjoy Perfect Strangers shenanigans and listen to this show. Yes, exclusive, closed, just for our listener Facebook group. Okay, sister.
All right, what happens to them?
They better start right where they left off, or better.
In fact, they start in the past, and we see Balky and Larry fall off the fire escape again. We see that whole thing again.
That's very rare. They never do that. There's a little rewind to remind you coming back what just happened. It's very interesting.
They never do that. I wonder why they did
But this time when they fall, you see the rope unfurl, and then you see it go twing, and it's like
pulls
gets caught, right?
As they presumably, when they get to the bottom.
Oh my Lord. And then here is some hilarious physical comedy coming up.
Then, so you're left wondering...
Comedy.
The audience is left wondering, like, oh,
what just happened?
What happened? We cut to inside the apartment, and the front door flies open, and we enter Larry. And what does Larry look like when he comes in?
First of all, his hair is sticking straight up.
It's so
his
funny.
Eyes are bugged out. He is breathing
scene
hard.
Is so funny.
He is like he's just can't.
His eyes are buggy.
They're bugging out.
But it's like, not panicked, Larry. It's like he's like
trying to catch
excited.
His breath. He's just like he just did lots of drugs, right? In fact,
it looks like he's on a lot of.
And his first line is just, "What a rush!" Like real loud.
But it takes like a long time. He stands there. His comedic acting is so funny. He looks like a cartoon. The audience is just dying, and he doesn't say anything.
So good. Mark Lindbaker's face. He's just looking around, going
for the longest time, just silence. He's just going making these very cartoony faces
with his crazy hair and his crazy eyes. Is so good, and then it gets better.
And his tie's askew, and his hair is up. And then, and the audience like laughs after What a Rush. Then we pull out a little bit and we see Balky come into the apartment. His hair is also
straight up in the air.
Straight up. And then he's walking funny. Why? Because we see that the bungee cord is still tied around his ankle, which means it's gone all the way to the ground, through the building, up the stairs, the other side of the apartment.
It means it bounced and they didn't get killed.
Well,
but then it was long enough to stretch all the way. Come back. It's so funny. It's so
which
silly.
Is funny because we already talked about how it had to be a short cord because they're not that high up.
And the way he's walking is he's like trying to
the cord is taut.
Yes, it keeps pulling his leg back every step and it's sliding back. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's very, very funny. It's very like clownish, right?
There's a lot of clown work coming in here.
Good clown work in this episode.
Just the thing is pulling at his leg.
So he struggles. He's like pulling back against it, and then he finally gets his foot onto the bungeed leg onto the coffee table.
No, it's not the coffee table, but yet he just walks over there just to stand up but he's like it's pulling at him, right?
Yeah.
And Larry now is talking very loud. And he is just
this is so
excited. He's like,
animated.
What a thrill. What an experience. Because I have never felt anything like it before
screaming at
in my life. He goes, You're falling. And then suddenly, you stop inches from certain death. That bungee cord shouldn't have been able to hold our weight. But it did. And he's just so out. It's so good.
And here comes the clowning. Then Larry puts one foot on the coffee table.
Yes.
And Balky tries to mimic him. But as soon as he lifts his bungeed leg, the bungee pulls back and pulls his foot all the way back and he falls. Right. And it's I can't describe it. It's just great clown work.
It's like
him
Buster
fighting
Keaton, Charlie
against
Chaplin. No, the great beat is where he finally he grabs his ankle and forces it on the table, and you think he's got it set, and he stands up and he turns and smiles, and then his leg just gets pulled out from under him,
and he falls forward onto the couch.
Yes, he grabs Larry. Oh, it's like
funny.
Charlie Chaplin.
I was dying.
Also, when Larry goes fwing, he imitates the bouncing of the bungee cord with his hand. It's so funny.
And now he's a big fan of Teflonos, right? Or he's a believer now. And Balky's like, he really shows that Teflonos really shows you a good time, don't he? And Larry's excited and he walks over to help untie the cord from Balky's foot. And as he's before he delivers this next line, he unties it and he frees Balky's foot. And
he doesn't let go of the cord, and it pulls them flying all the way to the door.
And he like face plants on the
like he
floor.
had to leap
that
to
is
do
also
that. That's a
very
great stunt.
comical
Yeah.
and clownish.
It's
and
such
I
a great
loved
stunt.
It. The physical comedy here is excellent.
Mark Linn-Baker goes flying in the air. Yeah, and it hits the ground. It's so great.
And then he gets up and he's like, let me get this straight. For the next 28 days, we can do anything we want and not get hurt. He's into it now. Balky says, yes. And he goes, well, what death-defying, life-threatening stunt is first on your list? And Larry, this is the most dangerous thing Larry can think of. He goes, I've always had this secret desire to go right to the top of the Sears Tower and go right ahead and look down.
He's so brave. That's the thing. You know what's funny about that? We've done that. You've gone up there. It is weird, but they have this thing now.
Yeah, they didn't have it back then, though.
And if you don't know, Sears Tower, Willis Tower, one of the tallest buildings in the world, you could go up and see like 4 states. But now what they have, and I haven't done this, and I don't know if I can, it is a glass box
you just step out.
Comes out of the side, and you step onto the air in the glass box and hope that it holds you, and you can look right down all the way to the street. I don't know if I could do that.
Everybody loves to take their picture in that box.
John Hancock
I wonder how many people just like poop in that box,
or
their pants.
Dude, apparently it can hold an elephant is what they say, but I don't know. People sit on that thing, they do handstands.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're crazy. On the John Hancock, they have the thing where you grab these poles and the window leans forward, and then you look down, and that's kind of scary too. But they didn't have that back then, but they've made improvements since 1990.
Whoa, yeah, but apparently there was some place to go up and look down from.
No, it was just a flat window.
Deck. Okay.
You would go up to the observation deck and look out and kind of, I wouldn't get close to it. It was weird.
It's been years.
Yeah.
I haven't been up there since I was a kid.
But Balky doesn't think this is very impressive, encourages Cousin Larry to think of something a little more daring. And Larry's like, well, there's one thing I've always wanted to do. But he's like, no, I can't. It's ridiculous. And Balky goes, well, of course you can.
Do be ridiculous.
Oh, we got a great variation on Don't Be Ridiculous. And Larry goes, you're right, let's do it. And then they do that thing where they grab the air to juice themselves up and they go, "Arrgh." And what's the thing that Larry wanted to do
so
but
we
thought
find
was
out,
ridiculous?
We don't hear it in words, but we cut to the next scene and we see it. And it's Balky and Larry together racing down a road on a single motorcycle.
They're on a motorcycle. Larry's in front, Balky's behind, and there's some video shots of them, but it's clearly a green screen background and a street flying by with a wind machine in their hair.
Yeah.
And they are just driving real fast, and it's getting a little ridiculous. Larry loves it, and he goes, if it wasn't for the bugs in my mouth, I'd say this is the best time I ever had. And then he goes, I got an idea, Balky. Why don't you drive for a while?
Oh, boy. And Balky's like, okay, that's a great idea. And Larry, like, stands up on this speeding motorcycle and, like, steps over Balky, like, to the back. They
Balky
switch
steps
places.
over him,
Yeah.
yes, to get into the front. And Larry's standing on top of the bicycle seat, and then Balky puts his feet up on the handlebars and doesn't use his hands to steer.
Are they wearing helmets?
They're not. Here's the thing. They're not wearing helmets. They're indestructible.
They don't
They have the God Tough Linos helping them. They also cut with some like video shots of the stunt guys doing these things. Like you see a shot of a guy driving with his legs. And then later.
So I just wondered if they filmed those scenes with the stunt guys specifically for this show, or if they found like a scene with stunt guys that had already been filmed for something else.
The odds
and
of finding those specific things, I don't know.
And then like matched Balky and Larry's outfits to those.
I think they were able to film this for. I assume they filmed it for the show. So, but that's a good question. Which came first? And so Balky's like, Cousin, I love the new spontaneous you. He goes, what's next on our list?
And Larry's like, well, we're scheduled to get shot out of a cannon at 4, but that might interfere with our swimming with the sharks at 5.
Well, but Balky has a way to fix this, though. He goes, maybe we could get the cannon to shoot us into the shark pool. And Larry's like, great idea, but it will have to be at feeding time.
Has to be at feeding time. Suddenly he wants to take all the risk.
So they're doing crazy things.
Larry stands up again, and then he climbs onto Balky's shoulders and sits on his shoulders.
And then he puts his arms out, and then Balky covers his eyes. And then you get another stunt shot of a dude sitting on a guy's shoulders on a motorcycle with his arms out just like that.
Yeah, so I wonder which came first still.
And then Balky's got his eyes covered, so he doesn't even know where he's going. And he tells Cousin, I think it's time for you to get over your fear of small planes.
Oh. And Larry's like, yep, and the best way to do that is for me to fly the plane myself.
And Balky's like, Cousin, you don't know how to fly a plane. And Larry goes, well, I don't know how to drive a motorcycle either. And Balky's like, that's a good point. It's a very good point. Screaming real loud as wind is blowing in their hair. And so then Larry gets off, and now they climb onto either side of the motorcycle, which is very strange.
Hanging off. It's very RRR. Yeah.
It is kind of RRR. Actually, the sitting on the shoulders right here is very RRR.
Yeah.
And all him catching the motorcycle bits was great. But I don't know how they're driving this motorcycle as they're now each standing on either side of it.
Larry says, let's hang
hang two, meaning you go on that side, I'll go on this side. I don't know.
Oh, I thought it was like
it's a surfing thing instead of hang 10.
Hang 10 is like a left turn. No,
hang 10 is like a surfing thing.
Oh, I thought it was
I don't know what hang 2 means.
And a surfing restaurant.
But then a sign blows by, and they're like, "What does that sign say?" And Balky goes, "Freeway ends in 300 feet." And Larry just goes, "Yes!" And then they both like lean out and have their arms out.
What's gonna happen to them?
What is happening?
And what does freeway ends mean?
Means it's just gravel. There's a board. There's a cliff.
I can still drive over.
No, it's like in a Roadrunner cartoon. It just ends. Or it's just a brick wall. And at this point,
it doesn't matter how
I'm going, this is getting ridiculous. What is happening? But it gets more ridiculous as we transition to the friendly skies.
Yeah, so apparently they were fine on the motorcycle.
They didn't die.
And when the freeway ended, they were fine. And now they're on to their next stunt, and we don't know what happens with the shark and the cannon and all that because we were talking about going back in the plane, right? So now we're back in the plane.
And this plane is doing these flips and spins.
And we see the outside shot of a small plane, same kind of little plane doing loops and tricks and aerial things.
And now we have Balky on the right side and Larry on the left passenger side, and there's no ace. There's no pilot. They are flying.
Ace jumped out last
Okay, I have so many questions, but go ahead.
Because what happened to Ace?
What happened to Ace? Who let these two take a plane and take off without any training?
Maybe Ace did, yeah.
And so they do a spin and
a lot of unanswered questions to move this story along. And they do a spin, and Balky's like, "Good job, that was great, cousin." And then Larry goes, "You want to go back and buzz Wrigley Field again?"
Oh my God, they flew really close to Wrigley Field. How close to Wrigley Field did they fly? Very close, because Balky goes, maybe this time we can get the ball autographed. And he's got a baseball.
They caught the ball.
They flew so close that they caught a baseball. They would have been shot out of the sky by now, because they've hijacked this plane without a flight license. But then, so then they do a barrel roll again, and he goes, "That was great." And then the plane goes into a dive, and Balky goes, "Oh, nice maneuver, cousin." And Larry's like, "Oh, I thought you did that." And Balky's like,
"Nope.
Oh no, that wasn't me. I prefer a more fluid movement, more kind of a serpentine thing instead of straight down."
And Larry's like, yeah, okay, just pull her up. And Balky pulls back on the thing, and the plane keeps diving. And he starts to worry, and he says, "I can't." And Larry's like, "Just pull up on the stick." And Balky, they're still diving. Balky is holding the stick, and he says, "I'm getting a strange feeling."
There's like a music cue here that goes, when he says that. And you're like, what is happening?
And Larry's like, "Of course you feel strange. We're headed at the ground at an enormous rate of speed right now. But thank goodness we have Teflonos to keep us safe."
Yeah, he's all smiles.
And he's like, "Just pull her out of this." And Balky's trying to tell him, "I'm trying. Good old Teflonos ain't doing diddly." There's a D.
Yeah.
And Balky just goes, "Oh my God, what if we're not indestructible anymore?"
Uh-oh, it wore off.
And Larry's like, "What do you mean? You told us we'd be protected for 28 days and it's only been a week." And Balky, something occurs to him. He says, maybe Teflonos don't have enough power to protect two people.
Oh boy.
Maybe it's half. They've already run out of their time. Maybe he can only take care of one of us. And he says, "Cousin, if I leave, you'll be saved." And he starts to like go for the door.
Oh my God, the sacrifice.
Yeah. which is very kind of him.
Yeah.
And Larry's like, no, don't do that. And Balky says, it's our only chance. And Larry's like, no. And he goes, suppose Teflonos decides to protect you, then I'm going to hit the ground like an overripe cantaloupe.
That's a good point. Which one is Teflonos protecting?
And Balky looks up toward, like prayer, kind of looking up, and he says, Teflonos, if you can hear me, I want you to stay with Cousin Larry.
Oh, my God.
That's all it takes.
That's all he has to say. He's got to pray to him.
Teflonos.
Just tell him. And then he goes, goodbye, cousin. And he gets up and he opens the door and starts to walk outside the plane.
And Larry's like, no, wait,
what is
Balky.
happening?
And then we see him walking on the wing of the plane outside as the plane's diving.
Yeah.
He shuts the door behind him. He's outside. And Larry's trying to stop him, saying, don't do this, Balky. And we see him jump off the wing of the plane. And then he's just like floats alongside the plane. And we hear him say, sorry, cousin, I guess Teflonos decided to stay with me. See you on the ground.
And then he does a little backflip. You know, like where the wires are, like you're set up to do a backflip. Yeah, he goes out and stands on the plane, no problem.
How did they film all this?
And then just floats away. And because Teflonos was protecting Balky, not Larry. Oh, no, Larry's going to crash the plane. What happens? Well, the picture gets all wobbly and blurry, and it goes doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. It's a kind of a weird dissolve. Brings us back to the moment in the plane with Ace where Larry fainted, and Balky is smacking
him in the face.
he's smacking
to unfaint him
a lot. He's repeatedly smacking him over and over again,
and he's saying, "Cousin, wake up! It's all right. It's all right."
It was a dream in the plane.
It was a dream.
We're still in the plane. I thought things were getting ridiculous.
And Larry says, "Where am I? Why are you beating me up?" Because Balky's slapping him on the face.
And Balky continues to slap him on the face as he goes, we're in Mr. Ace's plane, okay, and we went into a dive, and you fainted, slapping him on the face.
Yeah.
And Ace goes, yeah, you passed out before I could tell you. I was just kidding about that bailing out business.
Oh, my gosh, a jokester.
And Larry's like, that's your idea of a joke.
And Ace is like, just grumbles about civilians. He's like, y'all ain't got no sense of humor, just like them tough butts at NASA. And Larry's like, you didn't bail out? Balky didn't land the plane? We didn't drive a motorcycle?
Oh.
Balky just says to Ace, I don't think Cousin Larry is playing with a full deck chair.
Full deck chair.
Full deck of cards.
Full deck of cards.
Chair,
and deck chair, you can buy two things. It's funny. And Larry goes, it must have been a dream. It seems so real. He goes, Balky, we did things you wouldn't believe. And Balky goes, well, Mr. Ace says he can do some things you won't believe. He goes, he said he could do a loop-de-loop that makes almost all of the blood go below your knees. Show him, Mr. Ace. And Ace is like, all right. And he starts laughing, and he pulls back, and the plane goes up in a loop, and Larry's screaming
again.
And that's the last we're gonna see of Ace. It was a dream. They were in the plane the whole time. Yep. Playing Ace is this actor, Kenneth Mars. Like this guy's, you've seen this guy in tons of things. His face is so familiar.
Yeah.
He's so boisterous and animated. I love this guy. Kenneth Mars has had a long career. He's been in 2 classic Mel Brooks movies. First, as the German author of the play Springtime for Hitler in The Producers, which is a hilarious thing. And then in that movie, Young Frankenstein, he was Inspector Kemp. But he was in, here's just a short list of things he appeared in: Gunsmoke, Get Smart, Mannix, That Girl, Ironside, Love, American Style, Barney Miller, Family, Fernwood Tonight, Alice, Cagney and Lacey, Magnum P.I., Hardcastle and McCormick, Simon and Simon, 227, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Diagnosis Murder, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Party of 5, Boston Commons, Weird Science, Nash Bridges, Becker, Will and Grace, Malcolm in the Middle, and Hannah Montana.
That's a lot of things.
And there's a lot more voice acting he's done for animation, and the guy is just everywhere. He's great. I love this guy. He's one of the great character actors.
Well, he had a long and productive career.
Yes, he did.
We're back at the apartment. Apparently, they landed the plane just fine. They made it.
Well, this time I don't have to see it. It's nothing special. Ace is there.
Yeah, Ace is there. Balky and Larry walk in, and they head for the couch. And Balky says, except for the screaming and the fainting, you had fun. I guess you're over your fear of small planes. And Larry just goes, Balky, I'm never going up in a small plane again.
Bucky goes, I guess I was wrong. And they both sit down. And Larry's like, sometimes a little fear is a good thing. And then he just gets up and goes, I'm going to bed now.
And he starts to get up to go to his bedroom. And he says, tomorrow after I finish my article, I just want to spend the day enjoying some nice, safe, non-life-threatening leisure activity. And Balky has picked up some magazine that was on the coffee table. And he said, and he finds something on a page. He offers it to me. He's like, cousin, here's something you might like. And he reads from the magazine, bungee jumping, take the plunge.
Oh, God, that was in the dream.
How did he know? He didn't. And Larry takes it from the magazine from him and just tears it up into pieces. And hands it back to Balky. He's like, thank you. And Balky goes, you're most welcome. And roll credits. That's a kind of a strange, but I guess a nice joke to end on.
Quick abrupt ending. And before we get into our thoughts, listener.
There's no lesson.
There's no lesson. No, you didn't get over his fear of flying.
No.
There's no lesson.
But some great physical comedy.
Check out our TeePublic shop first, danceofjoypod.com, where you can find fun swag with the Dance of Joy logo. Cousin Whitney Smith sent in a suggestion for a t-shirt. She wants a t-shirt that says, now we are so happy we do the Dance of Joy. I think that's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
I'll find time. I have all these ideas. I got to make them. I'll make them all. And I know you guys would love them.
And we'll get them made.
Thank you for the idea. Visit danceofpod.com.
Dance of Pod?
Dance of Pod. Danceofjoypod.com/shop. Poi Jod. Dance of Poi Jod.
Dance of Joy Pod.
Anyways, here's my question about this episode. At what point did you think something was up? Or did it fool you the whole time?
It
so you don't remember this from watching it years ago?
I remember the concept of the episode, but I didn't remember how it ended.
It fooled me largely too, but when we got to the motorcycle, I'm like, what is happening? Wait,
no, because at that point I was still believing that Teflonos was protecting them.
At that point, they made it seem like it was a little more realistic the way Teflonos was protecting them. It was just like the bungee cord, and he was all. So I don't know, but then it gets ridiculous. And you're
I
wait
love
a minute,
this justification that there's two of them, so it's Teflonos isn't going to last.
Which one are they? Is he actually protecting too? Yes, that's a good question.
He's protecting both of them, but they cut their time in half because they're using two.
So motorcycles. Would you ride a motorcycle?
But even if they were cutting it in half, he said it's only been a week, so they would still have had another week of protection.
It takes a lot more protection effort with two people. It drains you quicker.
Have I ever ridden a motorcycle? I have never driven one, but I've ridden on the back of motorcycles. It was in Uganda and Kenya. That's how
I've been on the back a few times when a cousin had one.
Yeah.
My uncle had a scooter and I took it around the block. It was a lot of fun for around the block, but man, it's so dangerous. I don't like getting on that thing. You hit anything and you're done, even if you're wearing leather and a helmet. Come on.
It's so easy to die.
And most of the time, it's other people that don't see you. You could be the most careful motorcycle driver.
Yeah.
But it's the other people. And so, no, I don't know.
No, I definitely did that. Come to think of it, that was something risky. I spent a few months in Uganda in grad school, and over there it was that's public transportation. You just hop on the back of some dude's motorcycle.
Sure, it's your
Uber. They don't give you a helmet or anything. You just hop on and grab, and you're they just take you where you want to go. Because it's more because the roads are bad, so if you go in a car, you just be in traffic for hours and hours, so the motorcycles can get through all that. Yeah.
Okay.
That was fun. But yeah, looking back, I don't know if now I would get on, but back then I was just I'll get onto this motorcycle.
Would you bungee jump off a thing?
No.
Yeah, and you know how they do it off hot air balloons now too? That's crazy.
No, I would not.
I don't think
I would jump out of a plane.
I would jump out of a plane. It's a little more safe. I want to try that, but not the bungee.
Nothing about the bungee cord appeals to me. God. I've never had any urge to do that. No.
But what? So, what do you think about the episode?
I thought it was lovely. I enjoyed
kind
it.
of a fun gimmick to get them to do crazy
The
things.
clouning was top notch
Yeah, that
with the
was fantastic.
bungee cord
So
attached to their
The alliteration was fantastic.
The alliteration was random but so joyful. Like I loved hearing it. It went on so long that it was so good.
And it's just like absurd over the top that it's kind of funny and just
Yeah.
kind of hilarious.
We don't find out much about the characters, but and we also don't know like what kind of story he wrote or if it was good or anything like that. But
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Overall, though, an episode you're like, what is happening? And then you're like, this is
basically
crazy.
the premise of him being a reporter, like a low-level reporter who will
gets to
take
put
any
them in
assignment,
things.
is a really easy tool for getting them
I
in
believe
strange situations.
next week also that's the same gimmick is used to
okay.
get them into the situation.
Yeah.
But no, fun,
All right.
crazy, absurd, goofy episode. What did our listeners think, sister?
Okay, listener cousin Gabitha Edwards writes simply favorite episode.
Oh, look at that. I can see how
Somebody's
it could be a favorite
episode.
I can see
Definitely
that.
is one of the better ones of this season so far. And we said that about last week's too, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
this one might be.
Our comments
there.
here are interesting. You're going to see not everybody's on the same page.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Listener cousin Pam Hitchcock writes, "Oh God, here we are starting the ridiculous Meposian words like Teflonos, God of
It's
protection."
funny.
And then she does like a frowny emoji and
Crying? Was
what
that
is
crying?
this one? I don't know. No,
Like
it's
a
not
where-
frowning.
No.
Like a rolling eyes emoji or
Okay.
something, and a crying and a frowning emoji. And she writes, "Of course, we knew the whole time it was Larry dreaming in his passed out state. Did we?
Did we,
I
though?
didn't know that.
It kind of fooled me pretty well. I should
I
have
was
saw it
fooled.
coming. I should have saw, but
Yeah, when he passed out.
I mean, I
yeah.
should have saw it coming. But I was like, but
I
like I
didn't.
said,
I totally missed
when
it.
they get to the end of the motorcycle stuff and the plane stuff,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, there's something going on
even
here.
then, I was just
Okay,
along
because
with
it
it.
just gets so ridiculous. I'm like, there's no way they gave these dudes a plane. Who
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have
I didn't
to
even
get
think
off
about
the ground
that.
and they
I
flew
just
by
believed
Wrigley
it.
Field. This is something. What's going on here?
Maybe they were so impressed with them
stole
landing
that plane.
before that
Maybe.
they became friends.
Maybe
and,
they're like,
made them
no, but they
honorary
didn't land it.
pilots.
That was part of the dream.
But so was
in
the
the dream.
second. Yeah, within the dream, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, within the dream. Okay, maybe but I was like, get out of here. What's going on?
All right. Cousin Pam writes, "I couldn't get any enjoyment out of the shenanigans though, because of the horrible fake backgrounds.
Well, the motorcycle scene with the green screen. Yeah.
I know technology wasn't the best back then, so why do an episode like this when you know the production value is so low?" They thought that was high production
Yes.
value back then.
Yeah.
She writes, "The plot of the story wasn't that bad, typical Larry showcase, but the execution was terrible.
I like it.
The alliteration and the physical comedy in the apartment saved this for me, along with the fact that the plot made more sense than the last few. It suffered from all the helter-skelter, though. I'm giving it 5 out of 10 Baba Stickies. Or you can look at it as 5 Bibi Babkas if you see the glass
Yeah,
half
that's like
full.
an even score on the Babastiki Bibi Babka scale. Same score.
I don't know. Yeah, some fair points, but I didn't mind the poor production. I was just in it. None of these things occurred to me this time around. I was just like, it was so funny to me, and that I was just in the story. And besides, they wouldn't have known when you're in low production value. You think it's hot,
That's the best
for
thing
the time.
at
It
the
was
time.
good.
Yeah. Okay, well, cousin Nicole Stoner unfortunately agrees a little bit with Pam Hitchcock. She says, "Sorry, cousins, but this episode is one of my least favorites. I think the physical comedy comes off a bit too slapstick for my taste, on top of hitting the viewer with 'it was all a dream' twist." I mean, that is a big common trope, right? It's kind of a lazy trope. She says the episodes Aliens and Future Shock, also past dream episodes, have a deeper look into how Larry's mind operates, like how concerned he is when Balky behaves abnormally or his feelings for Jennifer. This one is Larry thinking that there would be really a Meposian god named Teflonos, which I suppose works. And finally, she says, but other than that, the physical comedy was a bit too much for me in terms of plot balance.
Wow, we have a split. I don't know if we've had this much division before from our listener comments. Listener cousin Whitney Smith writes, "Larry has some vivid dreams. Very vivid. I saw in syndicated version of this episode, like when METV aired it, when Balky says, 'Oh my God, what if we're not indestructible anymore?' When he says God, it gets bleeped and censored out for some reason.
Isn't that interesting?
On streaming, it's put back in. All right, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Little note.
Yeah.
She writes, I didn't get this episode at all. Balky and Larry didn't seem like Balky and Larry at all that we all know and love. They were very airheady. Sort of worse than Harry and Lloyd. I don't know this reference. She writes, we have the return of the missing fire escape. Yes we do. Yay. Also, we have Balky wearing his vest in this episode, and not one vest, but 2 vests. Yay.
Do the dance of joy. Yeah, all right. So another one didn't quite like it.
Interesting.
Right?
Let's hear what Cousin John Adama has to say. He's always very insightful. Cousin John writes, the opening scene is so short and rams them straight into the plane. They could have easily just started in the plane and added a little exposition.
Yeah, because with so many things, there were so many scene changes and transitions in Act 1.
B run.
They just wanted to put that baby.
They could have put that in another episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if it was like they tried that, it was too short, so they added.
I've never seen so many things in the first act of a thing that happened.
All right. Cousin John writes, Kenneth Mars, most memorable to me as Inspector Kemp in Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's a great role. Yeah. Ace. That guy's great. He was great.
And he writes, I was going to mention how lame Teflonos is, but since it's all a dream, it can easily be explained that's Larry's viewpoint of Meepos. Yeah, that's interesting. That's actually a really good
the whole Teflonos thing he made up in his own
which
head.
case, it's kind of brilliant
He
how
made
they wrote that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Cousin John writes, it would also explain how a country that celebrates Christmas as a religious holiday also has other gods.
Yes, inconsistent. But it wasn't real.
He says, I tend to dislike dream and anthology episodes. They're often lazy ways to present half-baked plots or are basically lousy fan fiction. Here it all worked for me for some reason. Yeah, this one works for me too. Maybe it's because any flaws can be attributed to the flawed character, or maybe I'm happy that there won't be a future episode where the guys are sharing a motorcycle. It's far from perfect, and the Balkyisms are getting more and more desperate. Still, it's a completely absurd romp that tied together by the thinnest of plot threads, B-.
Yeah, it's fun when they can do, like, it's an opportunity for them to do ridiculous things that aren't in canon or, continuity or whatever. Kind of like The Simpsons, like Halloween specials, where they just do crazy things in those shorts.
Yeah. It's interesting that Cousin John writes the Balkyisms are getting more and more desperate, because I've had this thought for a while now, definitely this whole season so far, but even before, because when we put out our episodes, I go on Twitter and I try to grab a funny Balkyism or wordplay sentence from the episode to include with my post on Twitter. And the last several has been hard to find something fun. It used to be so many that I didn't know which one to pick, and I couldn't decide. And now it's hard to find anything good in the Balkyism lines.
Well, this one we had, don't take your shorts out to brunch.
Do be ridiculous.
Do be ridiculous. We had
the airline slogan.
Take me to the friendly skies. Yes, Balky is ready when you are. I love to fly in the shows.
So actually, I think there were more.
You
in
had
this
sometimes I can't see the forest through my knees. The deck chair. Not playing in the full deck chair.
There were quite a few in this one. Actually, this one will be a nice batch to choose from.
So it's okay. B- is good. No, I don't know. It worked for me too. I'll say it was.
I enjoyed this
enjoyable. And I was like, that's crazy. Don't be ridiculous said once, and we get the variation.
Do be ridiculous.
Do be ridiculous.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
And
Dimitri is still on vacation somewhere. It seems to be long term because his framed photograph is still there on the bookshelf.
Yeah, that's when Balky's smashing the vase on his head. You can clearly see Dimitri sheep.
Yep.
On the bookcase.
Okay, what about Perfect Strangers today, which, of course, is the segment of this podcast where we talk about, can this episode be remade today? Do things still hold up, or would there have to be significant changes? What are your thoughts?
Well, right away, I don't see why you can't still do it, because you'd still go into a plane, you still write an article about a pilot.
People still fly little planes.
People still fly those Cessnas. He could pass out, and then the ridiculous things maybe our
bungee jumping.
bungee jumping was very ahead of its time. I feel,
but
still.
I feel like if you do it now,
Base
you wouldn't
diving
really like
is-
have your own bungee cord that you tie onto your foot.
you go someplace.
Yeah.
But you could throw in the base, the base diving where people
Yeah.
jump with a parachute. There's a lot of fun, extreme
Rappelling
sports.
down
yes,
buildings.
free climbing, just climbing the
Yeah.
side of a thing. So you could do all that crazy stuff and make it more and more ridiculous. But even the motorcycle bit, that's kind of timeless.
Yeah, I think this has a pretty high PS today score.
I mean, them getting a plane and they'd have to steal a plane. I don't know.
They would just have to add
explain
one
that.
line of
How they
exposition.
get it out of plane? Where is the
how
pilot?
they got the plane.
But I think it's a pretty good PS
Yeah.
today. Like you can do the whole thing. It's still because when it's a dream, it doesn't matter. You can do anything.
And
it always
planes
comes back
still
around.
crash, so it's still a very valid fear to have.
Yeah, they're still the safest way to travel, but they still sometimes things. So good PS today score. Next week, Larry's job gets them into the plot predicament again, as Larry has to cover a celebrity wedding in Los Angeles.
And we are early on in the season, but we're at
we're at the
two-parter for this
It's
season.
part
There's
one
one
of a
two-parter
two-parter.
in every season.
I think there's 1 or 2 seasons that don't have one.
Okay.
Almost every season.
Almost every season has one two-parter.
But we have
and here
reached
it is.
the 2-parter part of the season 6. So that'll be fun. Join us then. In the meantime, if you want to support the show, you can buy us a virtual coffee, throw some Dig Does, some Babastikis. No, not Babastikis, Bibi
Bibi
Babkas.
Babkas, Dig
It's
Does.
a virtual tip jar where you
We
can
don't want
support
your
the show. There's a little button that says buy us a coffee right on our website, danceofjoypod.com. Click it, support, show your love, give back. We appreciate it. Anything that is given, and it all goes back into the show.
And if you want to know more about the show, you can visit our website at danceofjoypod.com. There you can find a host of links. You can find where you can hear this podcast, and you can go to those places and leave us ratings and reviews and subscribe to your streaming service of choice. There's also a button on that main website. You can press that button and leave us a voice message. Tell us what you would do if Teflonos was protecting you for 28 days. You can also leave us, you can also send us an email, though, at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. And also on the website are links to all our social media accounts. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Happy to receive messages and highs and notes on any of those platforms. Come check us out. But Imran, what is the most important thing our listeners should do?
Well, if you're jumping out of a plane, make sure you jump first, then count to 3, then pull the doohickey.
Make sure there are chutes in the plane.
And make sure there's chutes
Parachutes.
there. Not the other way around. The order of
Make
instructions.
sure Dave has
very
not
important.
borrowed your...
Yes, make sure you fly the plane
Parachutes.
before Dave flies the plane
Yeah.
because he's a parachute thief.
No, he borrowed them and left
Yeah,
them.
but he's very bad at returning. Now, the most important thing is to share this show with your friends, your listeners, your skydiving instructor,
Yes.
your motorcycle gang that you hang out with. They're still bike gangs. Your pilot.
Yes, share the show. Talk
Your flying
about Perfect
instructor.
Strangers. Talk about us. Talk about Dance of Joy. We love all of it. Word of mouth goes a long way. That's our show for now. Now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.